InShalla and Ashe had a little glitch this morning. Blessings to you, my energetic beings. It is I, once again, Tonya D, holistic Sha'Medium and subtle energy surgeon. Welcome to the daily snippet. It's September 25th, 2021. So, do you feel as if this karmic thread is kind of over, kind of gushing out and getting out of the way? Are you upcycling your emotional self, your response system to feelings like blame or shame, regret, worry, judgment, even self-criticism, right? Our inner critic. So the ones that really need the recalibration to compassion, self-love, or unconditional love of the self, the heart self, or how you respond to yourself is your personal, to your own self-growth, really. It's kind of a tool, if you will, to kind of measure with. They might be rising to the field today. Feelings truly are amazing, and we should actually play with them more often, really, and let them know that we are actually listening to them. And it's more important to really pay attention to your response mechanism to the feelings that are like percolating, like a coffee pot, how a old style coffee pot percolates. So emotional boundaries, they're more permeable, they're kind of loose and kind of more flaccid. So imagine, if you will, going to war with a squirt gun instead of a metal gun. You'd probably last a few seconds, if that, in a war. But emotional boundaries can actually be pushovers if you don't have them. Easily swept aside, ignored, feelings of if you're being used, taken advantage of, or even, unrewarded, if you will. So if your emotional boundaries are weak, you can assist them with color and sounds and mantras. And I bring up emotional boundaries today because it's a day to really feel into your personal relationship with your feelings, with yourself, and feel your true, authentic feelings. So with the elemental energies of the day, we have this Yang Fire Rat Day, Bing Z, if you will. So our day needs nature as its support system. There's extra fire on the month. It's an opposing fire because it's yin, it's the ding fire. So it's like having rivalry with friends, friends that are more like your enemies out to get you than really an authentic friend, or even a sibling that you have sibling rivalry. Man, I look great today. But water to fire is this opposing force, the fire on the stem and the water on the branch. So the water kind of, it makes steam with our fire energy, and it's yang fire, so it's going to create that steam with the water. But we have some really good flow from the year to the day branch. We have the ox, we have the rooster, we have the rat. So it's in flow, and I'm not looking at the hour because if I did, it would flow even on over. But the hour changes, kind of like the moon. Every 2 hours, it's a new degree or a new sign. But the earth itself houses metal. Metal, through condensation, creates the water. And then, of course, if we were looking at the hour, water nurtures and feeds wood or nature. So, but no wood or nature in the chart actually for today to support our day master. So that's the element I would bring in. Again, it's like journaling and writing, it's herbs, it's essential oils, working with wood and crafting. That's what you kind of need to feed the element of fire. Trees, connecting with the spirit of nature, the guardians of the forest. Watch Maleficent if you really want to understand the beings in nature, or Onward, even the otherworldly beings. Super fun little shows. But be kind, find your inner joy, your wood and your fire. Kindness is wood, joy is fire, and love is also fire. You can be overjoyed. Bring in the Shhhishing sound to highlight the energy of wood, because all of our feelings in the moment about ourselves are really going to come on like little bubbles throughout the day. So you might find that you're more sensitive, or maybe you're more emotionally triggered, and you might need to let those rivers flow, release it, let it cry. If you can, kind of plan your day so you have time and space to really feel your feelings. Give yourself a timeout if needed. Did your mom ever put you in the corner for a timeout? I know mine did. So you could have actually woke up with feelings or emotions, wondering where they even came from. So if you felt a little more heavy this morning, it might be that you were processing subconscious emotions from your dream or your sleep realm. And these are usually ones that we normally suppress or we ignore, shove under the rug, if you will. So just depending on your day, you might be having old kind of sensations or feelings that kind of bubble up to the surface that actually came from the past. And these emotions coming up from a past history, even a past lifetime, kind of get assigned to different situations or relationships or different life experiences. They kind of bubble like a bubbling spring, but they're emotions, right? They're what it feels like to be you on the inside if they start bubbling up, because they're old feelings about yourself, your inner self, and cycles of thoughts and emotions kind of represent different ways of how we actually perceive ourselves, because they're consciously tied to how we are treating ourselves. So they're kind of this teaching tool for change and transformation when they actually come up today. So just be authentically aware of how you feel. And it gives us this ability to really shift our perspectives and also our beliefs about those feelings. The thread of those feelings, the thread lines and the chains in a way. So those beliefs and those perspectives are more important than the feelings are themselves, because they actually create those threads and those chains, like a necklace. So the non-judgmental approach is actually the better approach to your essence. So how you feel can really thread out in those lines, creating a self sentence of misery or imprisoned bad feelings that just kind of get stuck in a cage, if you will. So it's important to pay attention to how you converse, the conversation with your feelings. Just be more kind and passionate, be more self-loving, absolute, be patient, peace, joy, happiness, just practice being more of those and take space, take time with how you feel about different areas of your life, your experience, and your journey. And as these feelings come up, just nurture them like in nature and release them. So, it really is a challenge to end the blame game, right? Or the could have, would have, should haves. And you can almost should have yourself to death, should yourself to death. So do anything you can today to make yourself feel loved on the inside. Any discourse or adversity that comes bubbling up, just kind of go to your inner child, your little self, your little 2-year-old self, 3-year, whatever self you want to go to, and be loving to those feelings. They often tell us how valuable we feel about ourselves. So the value you feel about yourself is a result of the credit you've given yourself throughout this past last year. What changes are you willing to shift to feel better about your personal self-worth, elevating your values. So if you can, kind of create a list and allow your feelings to flow without any control, any holding back, being judgy, and just feel in and tune in to your heart's truth of how you authentically feel. And people don't really often realize that feelings are very powerful. And as the truth really rises to the occasion, kind of just perceive your feelings as a way of communicating from the depths of your soul, if you will, to the surface of your being, your essence. Just knowing how you feel about your inner self is key to access and managing your own personal happiness and joy and peace and love just in moving forward. So kind of embrace yourself, give yourself a hug in every moment and in every self-discovery with yourself. Our solar plexus is online, along with our emotional center or the sacral. So I would wear colors of yellow or orange yellows to yellow orange, really. So anything that soothes your emotional channel, even blue if you feel called. And with all the air, all the signs on the planets in air signs, we have this trinity of that. We might feel more connected today. Communication, air signs are all about how we communicate. So our heart, our essence of our heart, is seeking out people that we can actually relate to. And you can identify your role, if you can, for the collective. And your heart is actually going to open up and receive that love, that good, juicy love. It's like this collective mission that becomes a harmonic. And our intuition is also activated today as well. So just feeling out what action to initiate in the crossroads, because we're kind of at this crossroads. And the karmic value is to learn from things based on new consciousness, new threads, new threading. So whatever that is for you, that thread of higher waves in consciousness. So it's like the action we take is going to be different, a perspective that is otherworldly, one might say. So just kind of ask yourself, what does your heart believe about this new dimension? Is there a twist? The moon is in Taurus, so that's our emotional value system. The moon is our emotions. Taurus is what we value and how we manifest. So depending on where she's cascading through your chart, will be where those valuing threads will actually bubble up and come to the surface. So the seed sound is Ram, but I would still bring in the Vam too, because they both recalibrate those emotional boundaries, if you will. You could also tone and bring in a color through your crown all the way down if you feel like it. I would probably do that mostly because I feel it resonating right now. And you could also bring in Jophiel. Here I have a little Jophiel there. Jophiel to assist in self-realization or realizing your beauty and actually your emotions and what that feels like. So now I brought in the animal of the day, which is hilarious. Let me find, there you are. Bingo, the raccoon. So the raccoon. So are you barging into something before you have all the information? Might want to rethink this one, says the raccoon. So when you encounter a raccoon as a symbolism or symbolic, it's a sign that you must let go of a situation, a person, a belief, or a habit. Therefore, it would be a great idea to go inward to see what's stopping your progress. And also, the raccoon can also be a signal that you should accept the gifts being offered to you right now by the universe. And in some cases, it can be symbolic about reminding us to leave no stone unturned in our quest for resolution with the current problem that we might be facing. So in other words, take the time and the space to look at the whole picture, the seen and the unseen, to find that solution. So the raccoon kind of dictates that we have the ingenuity to resolve our problems. So if you have the raccoon as a totem, you might tend to be more shy and charismatic at the same time. Once you get to know people around you, they're very amicable. With the spirit animal, you have this insatiable curiosity, kind of this nosiness will actually blind you to the dangers of what you're actually exploring. You also thrive on new experiences and activities. So you're excellent problem solvers and have a great deal of ingenuity in solving puzzles and mysteries. You're great at helping others as well, problem solve. So, you're calm and you're serene, especially when you're under pressure. You often calculate your response to chaos too. So you tend to use touch before all other senses. So that's super amazing, right? We all need a little raccoon in our lives. But I had this other little raccoonie. Oh, nope, here he is. Bingo, isn't he cute? I tried to find one differently. So if you dream about a raccoon, that's a significant, it's a signal for deceit or thievery, or maybe you're not likely being completely honest in the situation that you're currently finding yourself in. The vision could also suggest that you're hiding something, that you're keeping something secret. And also, if you dream about a raccoon, it could be an aspect of your personality or a trait that's responding with these unsavory behaviors. Your self-awareness is also letting you know that you're being kind of dishonest with yourself. But that awareness will also help you overcome that dishonesty in your dream space. So that is super cool. So the animal of the day, the raccoon, the reason I went with it is because I have a new kitten or a cat that's been visiting my house, and he looks like a raccoon, especially his tail and how he moves. So that's why I pulled the raccoon. But the card of the day, I pulled 3 cards. I had to pull the images offline because my phone isn't loving me lately. I don't know what's happening. But first we have the High Priestess. So she's like wisdom and knowledge and learning and intuition and purity and virtue. And I find it really amazing how even the animals I pick, I don't really know the energy of the day till I wake up and kind of feel into it. But the raccoon totally is going with the energy of today. And so are these cards. But the High Priestess, she lifts her arms out. If you can see in that gesture, she's creating her own kind of chalice with her body. So she's her own living symbol of being a goblet, I guess is what I should say. But the owl's the keeper of knowledge, right? Owls are knowledge and the wisdom. So he holds the key to unlock all the mysteries of the magic, really, within, right? And the pomegranate, if you can see that in her hand up high, I'd point to it, but I don't have I probably put my hand in the wrong space, but it's this icon of Persephone, if you've ever read the story about Persephone, who tasted the seeds of the pomegranate, and that's what actually tied her to Hades in the underworld. So it's this fruit of fertility and also death. And the moon, she actually has the moon embroidered in her gown. Um, it's the waxing and the waning of the moon. It's the new crescent and also the gibbous moons that kind of create this entire full cycle that's contained or embraced in one in her wardrobe. So this high priestess herself, you know, she's opening herself up to the sky and she's just basking in the radiance and the illumination of the stars that are shining upon her and turning her cheeks kind of this effervescent color. So she's soaking in this incandescent light, feeling it glow within her mind. You can see her mind kind of bubbling there in the image. And it's opening the corridors and dancing into what's called filigree patterns. Those are like they're like cloths, like handmade little filigrees that you could put on a table or hold, or it's like her sheath, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But the stars are actually chanting to her. So we were here when the mountains were young and the sea was only a dream. We've seen the hills bloom with countless millions of seasons. We watched the clouds paint their visions in a slow language across the centuries. Let us speak. So she's having this conversation with the stars. And the owl itself is hooting in the darkness, calling out to his mistress with the music only of the night. So his white feathers are kind of gleaming in the moonlight. So it's as if he was like lit up from within. If you're looking at him, he's got his own light show, I guess. And he's gliding through the darkness to come and rest upon her, be close to her. So in the gloam, he's got his own light, I want to call it like effervescent light. The night itself, is always full of whispers. So we have this secret knowledge of the stars, of the trees, and of the earth. The spirits of all of them kind of murmur their own collective stories, the wisdom in the cloud, right? Because that's kind of where they're sitting. So she's weaving these sounds through her fingers, and she's drawing those voices into the physical beingness, the essence within her fingers. So that filigree, her gown, is actually the key that collides all of this together. So she calls out to her to take this and to, bear the secrets that she tells him to the wisdom of the owl. So that's kind of what her purpose is, which I find interesting with the other cards I pulled. The wisdom, right? Oh, back to the dude. Hang on. There we go. So then I pulled the Hierophant. And again, these aren't the best pictures, but I did what I could, right? But the Hierophant, you can see his roots reach deep into the earth. They're entwined around all the secrets and traditions of all the ages and the centuries, right? So he really believes in ritual and ceremony and pursuing knowledge and also deeper meaning. So if you've ever done any ceremony or rituals, you kind of know what this feels like, right? But he's in the rigidity of rigid beliefs, the rigidity of a belief system. So he kind of elucidates the spiritual and brings it to the earthly plane. So he's like calm and he's in possession of himself. So he's a teacher who can assist with unraveling the greater mysteries. So For example, the salamander there is sitting on his lap and he kind of wants a story. He's asking the Hierophant to tell him a story. And what would you like to hear, little one, And the words are kind of flowing out a little slow, but each syllable seems to be drawn from deep within the salamander, and he's pulling it up from his individual little rootlet of the tree there. So the salamander is used to it, and he's very patient. He knows how the Hierophant kind of works his magic. And he wants to hear how he can fly. And he was content with his life. And then one day his friend, the caterpillar, said he was sleepy. The caterpillar is sleepy. So he slept for a long time until he nearly forgot him, until yesterday. And then a moth came to the salamander and he laughed at him. And he laughed with the caterpillar's laugh. And with caterpillar's voice, he said he had had a dream of wings. So the Hierophant says it seems like the story goes on forever. But the Hierophant says, little one, I am sorry. The caterpillar has this blessing. He might sleep and dream of flight. He weaves the silken ritual around his body. And then comes a day when that vision transforms him. He goes on to say, and then the salamander says, I wish to dream of flight too. And he's really serious. And then the Hierophant says, you may dream of it, says the Hierophant, who's also his friend and also a teacher. He said, I will not be the one to deny you your divinity, but just know that your own divinity shall be attained along different paths than a caterpillar. So don't relinquish your dream, salamander. So that's kind of telling us that we all have our own gift. We're all going to transform differently, and just enjoy the journey, right? Sometimes we don't get what we want, but we get what we need. And then, oh my goodness, where am I? There I go. I pulled the Lovers of all things. So the Lovers, it's union, it's balance, it's energy, it's love, desire, passion, melding of the heart and the mind, forming a union of marriage, if you will. And it can be romantic in nature, but it's not necessarily that way. It's also about determining our value and struggling with our choices. So we have this innocence embodied in those turtle doves, in contrast to the shiny red apple in the embrace of the snake, if you can see that. That's one of the oldest symbols of temptation is the snake, which is also the catechist. I'm seeing the doctor's healing snake. Don't know why that's popping in, but just temptation with the snake there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but on the other side, it's this pure simplicity of the calla lily. In contrast, it's this lush and sensual complexity of a rose, right? Because every rose has its own thorn. So in one of the oldest tales, there is choice. We all have choice, knowledge and fulfillment of other worldly senses, or even worldly senses, really. So this simplicity is like really present in the now, to be drawn into this embrace, to seek our own inner union of our own self. Loving ourself, that's huge. We can attract the love we want by loving ourselves on the inside. That's kind of what our soul aches for. Sometimes that's a desire inside to know the oneness of passion and love and kind of revel in it. That is the oneness field. But these two lovers, they're gazing at each other and only at each other in the image. So they're oblivious to everything around them, including the sun, the heavens, gold, all the material things that you could imagine. Even, if they had a crown, they wouldn't even care about it. They're just mesmerized with each other. So there's these forces that are gathering around them that make no distinction whatsoever. They're in their own senses and they have no awareness of anything around them, actually. So he says to her, take this seed, is what he says. And he's placing an acorn in her palm. Water it, he says, from the fount of your spirit and also your intentions. And we shall see what grows of that. So when two meet together, it's the union, the yin and the yang. So her reply is, it's a magical day to connect with your feelings and have a compassionate response, is kind of what she's saying. But she's going to actually grow that seed. So with a day like today and these cards, we have the wisdom of the owl, the other world coming in as well. We have the Lovers, the Union, the Balance, and we also have the talents, our own unique talents kind of playing through. So kind of just meld all that together along with your emotional field. Release the old feelings, any old feeling that you're holding inside of yourself, and really just make room for new ones. I would probably bring in the new feeling state first and then kind of disconnect the old ones. Just let them permeate outside of you and dissipate. So you're kind of filling the hole first before you empty the hole, and have and hold inner faith. I've been telling myself every day that I'm doing great and you're doing great. So also affirm, I am doing great, and also grateful for your being, and love myself unconditionally. So with all of that, InShalla and Ashe, blessings to you, and make it a magical day. And I'll see you as always on the other side.